Welcome to Grab Load, and this week we got more news. It keeps coming every week, but let's start off with Nintendo. They are coming out with the Switch 2, highly anticipated, right? Many people have been looking forward to this for years. Now we're talking about the price, and now we are also getting a glimpse at what it is running underneath the hood, which is Nvidia's Tegra 239 chip. Now, this is you know, just information that's been put out there. It's interesting information. Some people may not care. For me, I'm interested in it. I like to see what chips are out there and, kind of what the specs are, kind of what Nvidia was able to release here and give Nintendo, with the Nintendo restraints, right? There's certain things about this, and we've known for a while that we've been going to have a Switch 2. We're finally getting it. It's going to have DLSS. Other than that, there's not too much else we know about it. It's going to be a little bit based upon Ada Lovelace architecture and going to be have about 1,500 CUDA cores. It's going to be an A78 core ARM core there as well. Between probably 1.1 to 1.5 gigahertz is some of the previous information that's been out about this, and we'll see how it all competes. I'm excited. I like to get into a handheld again, or into a handheld. I like to get into Nintendo games again. It's been a while. They're fun to play though. I have to say, I've always had fun when I play Nintendo games. So we'll see where this kind of leads to. But that was kind of interesting. Let's jump into now, switch gears into some Microsoft news before we get back to some hardware news. It's always fun to keep track of Microsoft, of how they're trying to ruin Windows. I think keeping tabs on that is a fun thing. Also painful thing when you use Windows. But they have that folder called iNetPub folder, and it actually, Microsoft has came out and said it actually lets hackers permanently block Windows updates on PCs. Hackers? You mean it's a feature of the OS now? We don't have to have automatically updates that screw us in the worst opportune times. Okay, Microsoft. Yes, Microsoft is saying that they are patching it. It's a vulnerability to prevent this, but yes, I guess there's supposed to be a non-animate thing that allows you to kind of, symbolic links and stuff. It's not good. NeoWind had that. NeoWind does some, good stuff. It's just funny what Microsoft keeps on doing to make us feel, just grinding in our side of what they're doing to Windows here. Oh, maybe one day Microsoft will be like, we're going to be user focused and we're going to make a good, solid OS or improve it. Now, Microsoft is also going to keep putting up more pop-ups in your Office 365, or I guess Microsoft 365 applications, Word, PowerPoint, and stuff, saying, hey, you know what, you could back this up on OneDrive, it's safer for you. And this is just the annoying part of Microsoft. It's getting just crazy at this point. I'm rolling my eyes because yeah. I see all these things, and all I can think about is that's extra screen real estate for me to actually get my work done, not to stare at something I don't care about. And there's a lot of people that share that sentiment and just click off of it. But I will say, if or people just ignore it. And when you talk, when like, oh, if you were to mention it, a lot of times, Microsoft's going to say, well, we don't have people clicking off of it. It just stays there. People click on the, use OneDrive or stuff like this. People are just mostly want it to go away, not because they actually want to use it or something. That's their main focus when you actually sit down and talk to the user, and just don't use the, click-through rates or analytics on the back end of what actually happened. When you talk to them, I didn't know I had an option between all this, so it's, I don't like when things are hard to dismiss, right? And when people just want to dismiss them. It's slimy, in my opinion, it's really slimy. One other thing here that we're going to go into, just because I like to use it a lot, which is Windows 23H2 is getting some phone link stuff integration into the, and I think this will be through everything, but if you use phone link, that's to link your phone to your computer, and you can, type and text from there and do other stuff. It works okay. I use it a lot to send text since I'm on my computer. Microsoft is getting that more integrated into the start menu, which fine, I tend to not pay attention to the start menu so much because Windows 10 they had a start menu that actually kind of worked. Windows 11 start menu is just too many clicks. I hit the start button, I type something, I hit enter. That's it. Now it's changed how bad Microsoft implemented the start menu has changed how I used it because I don't like being in something that's so badly designed. And yeah, that is pretty bad. One thing I think that needs to hopefully get more traction on is these governments around the world wanting backdoor access to everything. If you have encryption and you have backdoor access, what's the point of encryption? It doesn't matter anymore because there's a backdoor access. And if you think that backdoor access is going to be limited to one thing, it will be opened very quickly and everyone will have access. So why do you have encryption in the first place? And Telegram's CEO was saying this to French authorities, but we're seeing it more and more of this thing where governments want the backdoor access, then you have to go through and try to make sure that you're abiding by these governments. But if you lose encryption, if you go around and you put a backdoor access in, that is no longer encryption. You can't say that it's going to be secure because it will be leaked. It always does leak, and yeah, it always happens this way, always. So I wish that governments would just realize it's encrypted. If they want it, they're going to have to figure out, through the court system or whatever else to get that person to unlock the device, or they're going to have to, you know, try to break the encryption. Fine, that can happen too. But allowing a backdoor is just defeating the whole purpose of encryption, right? If you break the encryption, then I guess we have to go through and get better encryption. But that's a little different than saying, oh, let's just have a backdoor. Well, then everyone's going to have access. AMD did release new drivers for Windows 10 and 11 if you have a Ryzen CPU. So on the chipset side, you can get those as well. There's some fixes there, some improvements, especially for, I believe it was X3D stuff in there as well. I could be wrong. I could be remembering a different issue. It looks like I'm reading the notes again. I went through these notes and was reading it, but they fixed some stuff, some issues that they had, some bug reports there. I thought there was something. This was last time's driver. That's what it was. I'm going through. I'm looking at the release notes. No, I was thinking of last chipset driver. But that's one of those things. Especially if you're running the new AMD, and AMD also came out with an optional graphics driver as well. This, what was it, 25.4.1, and that had some more fixes in it too. It's optional, so it doesn't automatically happen. But if you're running one of the later options, and I got to do a video on this of AMD's software, it does come with their AMD like updater now, which is, I'm not going to go into it right now. It's bad. It needs work, right? It needs an option where I can say, hey, I want to install the optional updates as well. I don't see that anywhere, but I just said I wasn't going to go into it. I went into it. But AMD, has these updates out, and the updater will take care of these chipset drivers if you already have that selected in that updater, which works pretty seamlessly. I've been impressed with what they've been able to do and like what they've been able to do with it. So hopefully it continues. Hopefully AMD keeps putting effort into it there as well. Let's go to YouTube. I guess that they are messing with the player a little bit and changing some things. I don't know. I don't care. It still works for me. I guess people are complaining about it. Let me know what you guys think of the new player, new UI in the YouTube player. Hopefully you're watching this on, well, one of the sites that I post this to, but a lot of people seem to watch on YouTube. So let me know what you think in the comments below, because I don't know, I just use YouTube as a player of things and I don't really pay attention to UI. unless I pay attention to the ads that they keep sticking in random places that I have to figure out how to get around. That's the only thing I pay attention to here. So let's jump over to Nvidia. They are, rolling, right? The AI boom or whatever that's happening. They are rolling in it. They really like to do, have this AI selling through. And of course, you're seeing news articles about between the US and China and everyone else, there is going to be restrictions on certain technology released in certain countries. We're seeing this with AI and between the United States and China. And Nvidia now is going to have to come out with a GPU that can be sold into China that is not as powerful as the 1590, I believe, or compliant. So I'm guessing you're going to have something like the 4090 D that was there too. There's going to be different compliant GPUs. Of course, NVIDIA is rushing to get this done according to WCCF Tech. I'm kind of curious of why they're rushing. They didn't, there was a 4090D, right? There was restrictions there. Why didn't they put two and two together already? Maybe they didn't know how much of a restriction would be, but this is just, why are you rushing? You should have known that this is going to be probably a thing to have a US compliant, GPU that you can sell elsewhere. But, NVIDIA is trying to capitalize as much as possible, which makes sense, right? Capitalize as much as possible and then go from there. NVIDIA also had a little bit of a positive development on their 300 GPU or Blackwell Ultra GPUs, so that's good. They were, what were they all doing here again? They were switching compute boards. So um, the physical board itself, right? They're switching it from Cordella to Binance. I don't know. If I pronounce that wrong, I apologize. But it's supposed to allow for a better serviceability and stuff, better supply chain, all that stuff for them. So they'll be able to get this out to customers faster, I guess, in the whole scheme of things, which is a good thing, right? It's one of those things where you hope that NVIDIA keeps releasing stuff and go from there. So I like to see NVIDIA doing some things and getting stuff done, and NVIDIA seems to be the forefront of AI, and so they're going to keep on doing this and keep on pushing. But NVIDIA could not push the RTX 5060 Ti 8 gig enough so that no one knew how bad it was. It's it gets pretty bad in certain scenarios, where frame rate between the 16 and the 8 gigabyte can be 50% lower or more, and that is just that is disastrous. Maybe, Moore's Law is Dead had came out with a video and talked about maybe AMD is going to go in a different direction and have no 9060 8 gig or 9060 XT 8 gigs. That would be probably the best thing AMD to do. And if you're going to go 8 gigs, make that the 9060 or just a 9050, and just say that's where 8 gigs is going to be. Everything else is going to be 16 gig, and go from there. Because the way the games are and the way everyone's kind of playing it, I don't think putting a performance limit on that with just being an 8 and a 16 gig and trying to make sure consumers have the best experience, because right now AMD really needs to make sure that users are having the best experience. And if they put an 8 gig out and people are like, why is this so slow? And it's just because they bought the 8 gig model. I think a lot of users are going to be frustrated. AMD needs to build off the momentum they had from NVIDIA's missteps, and NVIDIA seems to kind of misstep again with that 5060 Ti 8 gig. Now, they will be coming out with a 5060 here or in May, and that is rumored price around $299. So that's still, remember when we used to be able to get a really pretty powerful GPU for $299? I'm dating myself, but that used to be a thing, and now we are not. But 299 for your entry level is going to be pretty good, and we'll see how Nvidia kind of tackles this. Maybe even bring the price down a little bit more or something, depending upon. Well, I doubt they'll do that, right? Maybe, well, maybe enough people complain. Maybe AMD will have a 9060 XT in a competitive price range. I don't know. Who knows if we even have stock, right? That'll be something else. So, yeah, it's been an interesting month, right? I did talk about Intel's 200 boost as well. That's a video I put out this week. Highly check that out. DeBauer did a good video as well, and just going over some of the performance. I like to see what AMD, yeah, what Intel has done for this to increase some performance out, try to get it a little bit closer to that 9800 X3D, and just give more stuff for the users to benefit from. Intel also, as seems to be out there in the rumor mill, is going to make sure that you are buying a new motherboard for the next desktop CPUs. Looks like it's going to be LGA, what is it, 1945? I think is the next one. Yeah. So for Nova Lake, desktop is going to be that. So if, again, I have to say this is where I really like the AMD platform, because you can get into a CPU and there's longevity to it, or get into a motherboard platform and there seems to be longevity to it, and they're dedicated to it. You're not just two generations, one generation and out. You can stick with that, and there's going to be future CPUs on this platform. And while there may be new chipsets in there, your CPUs that are newer still work in the older boards. And that's very consumer friendly in my opinion, even though it could be easy just to do a new socket and make the motherboard manufacturers happy. It probably might even be easier for design purposes if you need more power or whatever else, and you change some things, consolidate whatever else. That could be an option where AMD decides to put the consumer a little bit first. And I think it's actually building up the platform a little bit better as well. There is a problem with Intel GPUs, not just poor gameplay or anything else like that. They've been getting through that. However, there seems to be reports out where people are on there that there's CPU optimizations that need to happen for our GPUs to get the best performance. If you're using like a little bit older CPU with the Intel GPUs, seems to suffer performance a lot more than anticipated than with higher end processors. So Intel is acknowledging and investigating this. Hopefully they'll get something to fix this out. Video cards had this, which is good to get out there, but it's one of those things where you kind of are like, oh, come on, this is this is just something else that you have to deal with, and one of those more growing pains Intel has. And since I'm in Intel, might as well go into the bad news. I've been kind of delaying this. This was one of my first tabs I was looking at. I'm like, I gotta put this later on. But Intel had a disappointing quarter, and now that it seems like they're going to have some layoffs. 2,100 people, it is rumored. No, 2,100, 21,000 people. Uh, I hope that you guys are able to find a job quickly someplace else. But this is 20% of the workforce. It's disappointing. The new CEO has to do something, try to get them back on the path to profitability, a good profitability clip, some good revenue, and this is one way they're going to do it, because their quarter was not looking too well and they haven't been delivering. This is one of those things where it's just sad to talk about, but I'll leave it there. If you have comments on it, leave in the comments below. Hopefully these people can pick up and I'm sure that there's some good people that are going to be let go, and that's just the state of Intel. I really want Intel to pick it up and be able to compete in all these areas, but Intel's got to get on a footing to start ascending again, and this is just another one of those things where I don't think they're on that footing yet. And I hope that the CEO and everyone can get on that footing, because you don't want to keep the morale of, what was it, last year there was like 10,000 plus gone, now 21,000. You kind of get morale issues if you keep going down that path. Now, moving on to the next thing is the Intel CEO was met with the TSMC CEO because they were talking about partnerships. Okay, fine. I can see maybe a partnership with sharing some technology with each other to help improve your manufacturing and do licensing deal. Global Foundry does licensing deals, so I think that's perfectly okay. It just seems like if Intel goes down the path of, getting too much out of the foundry business, I wonder how that's going to affect, especially with CHIPS Act money, if that still exists, with how the U.S. is with wanting to make sure that there's foundries in the United States. Probably they even want some just U.S. company-owned foundries as well. This could create a mess that while they're talking, I don't know how much is going to come from it in all of this. And while we're on the whole foundry topic, this is an interesting one. We got the Faraday, a lot of AI ASICs going around, ASIC clients, Broadcom and Nvidia saying, hey, Intel's 18A process, not bad, it's impressive, let's take a look. So they're taking a look at this. And then I think I got another article here. They're taking a look at this, and we're going to stay on foundries here. And where was this? Foundries. And Intel's is reported now to uh, video or WCCF Tech had this. They want to stick with like dual sourcing stuff. So with their own foundries and TSMC, and it looks like Nova Lake orders are going to be at TSMC. I'm going. It's it shows disappointment, especially when you had other Nvidia, other companies saying 18A looks good, but here we have, let's stick with 2 nanometer for Nova Lake. I, I I don't know what to say. It makes me laugh, right? This is the fun part. It just makes me laugh, because sometimes sometimes you wonder. No, a lot of times I wonder. Okay, let's see. Let's get into Meta here. This is an interesting one. WCCF Tech had this as well, where, using AI to check to see if your age is your age is going to be interesting, because they want to be able to detect underage users and, where they are. Probably, people more importantly just lying on their age in general. And can AI do that? And can AI be accurate about this? It's going to be interesting to see how they implement this. Now, I don't have any Meta accounts right now because, well, they annoyed me. So it'll be interesting, but I'm sure it's going to infiltrate other areas. I was talking to somebody, and we're talking about AI, and they're like, well, yeah, it's going to be able to do all this also things. And they're like, well, I want AI to be good at certain things I want it to be good at, like especially predictive texting of autocorrect. If you can get autocorrect done, it's amazing. You know, I'm a software guy. I write software. I really like it to be able to access, look at code, see where there's potential issues, memory leaks, security leaks. More importantly, really like it to be able to go through and test it automatively and do different things with testing. And it is improving on the coding side. Some things it gives horrible suggestions. But other things it has done some really good stuff. Finding duplicate code where code may have been accidentally copied. I think there's other stuff out there that has looked at duplicate code, but I think AI could be another huge win for that. So hopefully this will all go through and produce some better, more useful features than what everyone else is coming out with recall and everything else. But the age thing is just Meta going to leverage it for their uses, and I'm sure that there's going to be more that they can make money on while using it for that. Well, also to protect them from being fined, right? making money sometimes is making sure you're not being fined for money that then you will lose, especially from inside the EU, because they will go after you if you make a mistake, or Meta. So then, AMD may be going through WCCF Tech, and I think others had this, may have a workstation GPU with more VRAM on it. Makes sense, take some of this new stuff and sell it out there. I think that's really important for the pro market. More RAM. Nvidia does the same thing. Pro cards get more RAM. They can do more modeling, AI stuff, and everything else now. So that makes sense. You jump more into some of the gaming side things here. RDNA 4 mobile GPUs looks like that they're going to be coming out here sooner or later. It looks like they're going to even have like a 9080, 9070, and both MXTs, all this other stuff. So it will be interesting to see, because this is going to be a little bit different than like all the mobile cards are. They're different than the desktop counterparts, a little bit different. But Navi 48 for the 9080M, 9070M XT, and then was going to have both be Navi 48. Just the 9070 is going to be cut down. 9070M is and lower, all Navi 44, according to this leak in video cards. You have AMD's new drivers, which I said for gaming 25.4.1. So you're going to have some stuff with some new game support and some fixes. AMD's drivers seem to be working pretty well there, so that is pretty cool to see. And then you also have, I want to hit on this because I've been going through and talking about GeForce drivers, and I guess maybe they got another hot fix. So solving a GPU temperature reporting issue. This is, I guess you got to always check your drivers here. I thought that this was done. They had the black screen issues and everything else. This has been I can't say it. Nvidia is pretty good at drivers, pretty solid, at least after a couple updates after release, if they have any issues. This one is pretty rocky here. We're still running into some issues, and we're now months after the launch. So hopefully Nvidia can get these ironed out. I don't like people having issues with their games while they're trying to run them, because that's no fun at all. Then we have Elder Scrolls Oblivion. That is, looks really good. Maybe I'll have to get into it and play it. So I wanted to talk about that. That's coming out. Was there anything else on the gaming side that is coming out? I thought there was a game that had a bad review or something, and I was just like, don't care. But Doom: The Dark Ages, right there, that trailer has been there. I'm excited for that. PS5 Pro, there was a trailer on that to see that out there. WCCF had that. So a lot of cool stuff happened in the games. I can't wait as all these games start coming out. I mean, everyone's waiting for GTA 6, and just launch your games. We'll get GTA 6 when we get GTA 6. I mean, talk about one game that can mess up the whole market. That's what it is. But now I've ran longer than what I've wanted to. Hopefully that goes through some of the news that you had this week. Thank you so much for supporting Graver and watching and helping this channel grow. I really do appreciate it. If you have any news that I may have missed, put it in the comments below. Maybe we'll take a look next week. And until next time, I want to thank you so much for watching Graver Tony Tech Topics of the week with all the tech news. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, watch a number of videos. That really does help with the channel. Till next time, God bless.